So if I'm the Knicks, I can't have Cat and Brunson as my go-to guys. It has to be KD and Jalen Brunson, or Jalen Brunson and somebody else that's not a defensive liability going into the 2026 season. Do you think that the Knicks need to make some trades also? Because I think it wasn't just coaching, it was also personnel, in my opinion. So do you think the Knicks need to make a trade or two?
Yes. Knicks fans might not like it, but I don't care. I'm seeing what I can get for Josh Hart at this point because, yes, he does a lot of dirty work, but specialists don't play in the playoffs. And rebounds is cool at 6'4", 6'5", however tall you is, and hustle is all that. We can get 2-3 guys that can do that and contributes in the playoffs on the offensive end. So I'm seeing what I get for Josh Hart. Honestly, I know you just traded for Mikal Bridges, but
no doubt, especially once that new contract as well.
Yeah. So I'm seeing what if I could rebuild some of the stuff we lost with that Mikal Bridges deal. So I'm shopping him out there too.
I think with
Honestly,
Cat,
the only untouchables in my opinion is Jalen Brunson.
Yeah,
if I get a good offer for anybody, I'm listening to it. Like, I'm not going to say, oh, this player's completely opposite. Maybe Cat, but even still, like,
I think I'm trying to get Cat out of there
Cat,
too, man.
okay.
Yeah,
you want to get Cat? You want to get Cat?
I think Cat. The problem with Cat, like, his defense is so bad as a center that you can't have two liabilities on your starting lineup. Yeah, they made it to the conference finals, but you can't have two liabilities. In this day and age, it's so much harder to defend that if you have just one liability becomes a weakness, but two guys, that's why you think the Lakers weren't able to. They got their ass whooped by Minnesota because they had Reeves and they had Lucas starting. You can't have Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, because if you remember, when Brunson or Cat is on the bench, the defense gets significantly better.
Is better,
yeah. So I think you can't have both of those guys in the same starting lineup next year. I think Cat is the guy that you have to move. Kevin Durant has to be the number one dude you have to get. I'm hearing Giannis, but I don't think Giannis solves their problems. He's tremendously talented. I
don't think they got enough to get Giannis. From the draft capital aspect, they don't got enough.
Absolutely not. But even if they were able to get Giannis, let's hypothetically say,
I don't think that would solve all their problems.
No, because
it would literally just be like the Bucks teams back in like 23.
Him and Dame. Yeah. It was just him and Dame.
Yeah, it's just him and Dame still. Yeah,
I think Kevin Durant fits better for what they need. They need a guy that can create off the dribble, that can create his own offense, that can make shots, that can shoot at an efficient level. He's not a defensive liability, although he's older. He's not a defensive liability to the level of Karl-Anthony Towns. I think the question becomes, who's going to start at the center position, because Mitchell Robinson can't be your starting center.
That is true.
No way, no how. He's too he's always hurt. He can't shoot. Good defender, but he's not reliable as a starting center. So who would be your starting center?
Like a starting center, because teams is like hogging the center. They hogging the centers and guards. So it's going to be kind of difficult to find to start a center that you won't have to pay big money in a year or so on the market right now. But I do think that a Cat and KD trade has some legs, because there was a report saying the Suns are looking for like a center in a deal for a KD or something like that. So,
but then there was also another point where they don't want Cat in the deal. I think if they get Kevin Durant, it has to be a 3-team deal.
Yeah,
in my opinion, they're gonna have to find a third team, because I think. Listen, Phoenix can say all they want. Oh, we trying to build around Devin Booker. They need to get some draft picks desperately, because right now with the trade for Beal and the trade for KD, they don't have a whole lot of draft picks left. So they're going to probably look for some draft picks. And in this scenario, a 3-team trade would work, in my opinion. But where would Cat go is the question mark. So if I'm the Knicks, I can't have Cat and Brunson as my go-to guys. It has to be KD and Jalen Brunson, or Jalen Brunson and somebody else that's not a defensive liability going into the 2026 season.
Yeah, I agree.
So, and then also Mikal Bridges as well. Like, Mikal Bridges he's a nice player, but I don't want to give Mikal Bridges that extension. So you have to figure out some way with Mikal Bridges. So those two things, Cat and Mikal Bridges, and also the bench. It's going to be very hard to fill out that bench. I don't know how they do it, but they gotta find another guy to put on that bench that can give them some offense.
Yeah, big time.
So those are the question marks. Those are the question marks. They made it to the conference finals.
How like the teams that had the deepest teams in the league are the two teams in the finals. Ain't that funny?
And they're under I think they're under the luxury tax.
Oh.
Yeah, I think they're under the first apron. That's crazy.
Draft and develop.
Most depth under the first apron.
Develop honestly for the Pacers because they traded for most of them dudes.
They did. Yep.
But OKC drafted.
They developed Nembhard. They developed Nembhard. They developed. They're still developing Mathurin, Miles Turner. They developed, but Tyrese Halliburton.
Siakam trade.
Siakam trade. They just made a lot of. They made a lot of great trades. The Halliburton trade,
I believe. Yeah.
One of the biggest acquisitions in recent memory.
I was like, what are the Kings doing?
Because they were looking at it like, well, we already have Fox, Halliburton, their games when they play one another, like
Fox
their games sort of
collide. And I don't know how long.
I said it from the jump. It was a bad trade. I said it, but it is what it is.